Hey guys, Lachie and Jad from Mad About You. Now, we actually have had something pretty important happen in our lives. We have popped a baby out of Jad's clacker, and unfortunately we can't make it into studio for a few weeks to film some episodes. So before we had the baby, we made sure that we filmed and recorded a couple extras for you guys to listen while we get used to being parents and until we are back in the studio.
Yep, popped a baby out the clacker. Thanks for that, Lachlan. Anyway, guys, here's some pre-recorded episodes we hope you enjoy, and we'll get back to you as soon as we possibly can.
Guys, welcome back to another episode of Mad About You. Now, as I'm sure you guys are aware, if you follow us online, Jad has a little boy growing in her belly. We're about to become parents, and something that we've been stuck discussing for the last 7 or so months is what kind of parents we actually think we are going to be. And so on today's episode, we're going to be asking each other some fun hypothetical scenarios to figure out what kind of parents we're going to be.
But before we do that, I need to ask you whether or not you're familiar with the books I've been reading, the Bridgerton series.
I know that you've been reading them, but I don't know them, yeah.
Are you familiar with them?
I'm familiar that you watched a show on Netflix called Bridgerton.
Yes.
You're obsessed with it. You watched it about 3 times, and then you decided to buy the books. We were even traveling, and you went into like a store overseas and bought one when you finished it. So I know you like them, but I think it's just some period piece, right?
Sort of. It's actually, I didn't know this before I bought the books. It's erotic literature, right? So it's a good read.
Porn.
There is material in there that is erotic, yes, correct. Okay. Now, I wanted to know whether you would be willing to read the novels.
What for?
So I have this theory that if men read their partner's erotic literature, they would just get it.
What? What have I been doing wrong? Are you insinuating that you're not happy and I need to read like a manual?
No, I'm not. What you're doing is great. Let's just clear that up from you.
It doesn't sound like it, if I'm being honest.
But I think that there's always more to be done, right? And these novels are like a guide. And other novels.
Are the novels like the show? Because
yeah.
I watched you watch some of that show, and it's like some dude running around a maze in a manor with a chick like kissing her leg as they're frolicking in like a maze. So are you wanting me to like do that with you? Would that get you going?
The books are always more detailed, right? We can agree on that. You've read Harry Potter, you've watched the movies.
Yeah.
There's more detail in the books. And I think that I just feel that if you read the books, there's the little things, right? Like the little touch, the little brush in the hallway, the touch of the pinkies.
Wait, okay, so give me some examples of what you like in the book. Well, I don't have to read the whole book, just tell me what you like.
No, I think you should read the book because you really have to gauge how it's going to make your partner feel.
So you couldn't say just let's touch my pinky. I have to listen to like sensually.
No, you need to get at the pace. You need to get the pace. You need to get the the language, the movement, the lingering stare. Like it's all encompassing, really. But I don't think it's something I can really sit down with you and tell you to do. It's gonna feel inauthentic. You have to read it for yourself.
I can just stare at you and touch your legs sometimes. That'll do it.
I'd be open to Will you give it a go?
How about this? You mark out the pages that you want me to read, and I'll read those specific pages with the bits in it that you want me to, I don't know, sounds like replicate.
But it's the story as a whole as well.
I don't care about that part. I will read 10 pages. I'll read the 10 pages that you bookmark out for me.
Guys, I just want to suggest if your partner's reading erotic literature, consider giving it a go after her.
I didn't know it was erotic literature.
She's going to love it. I also want to ask while we're here, is there like an erotic literature form of something that I can consume that isn't pornography, that is like the same or like the equivalent to what it would be if you read my books?
Yes.
Okay.
Keep reading the books that you're reading. Because if that's getting you in the mood, that's fantastic. You don't need to read any of my books. Just keep doing that.
No, I mean like,
No, I get what you mean. I'm saying that I'm so fine. Keep reading those books. We obviously made things work because we got a baby on the way, so it worked. And that's fine. You don't need to read, I don't really read fictional books. I read nonfiction. So I don't think, philosophy or, 12 Rules for Life is going to get you hot and heavy. So,
but it doesn't have to be hot and heavy. It can just be something that I take an interest in that you would love me to take an interest in. Like, I don't know. Do you want me to take up like fantasy football or basketball?
I don't even do that myself. I want you to take it up. But I like Norse mythology, for example. But I don't think.
What if I got into Dota?
I don't think that'll get you going hearing about Thor whacking his hammer, So
that might. It might.
Weird. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm open to it, but I'd appreciate if I didn't have to read 400 pages to learn how to get you going. So
I'll see if I can condense it.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome. So today we're going to figure out what kind of parents we're going to be, and we're kicking things off with who's going to be the disciplinarian. Now, I think that I'm going to have to end up taking this role on because I just know as soon as we have this baby, it's going to be this tiny little cutie little bundle of joy, and you're just going to go weak at the knees.
I'm confused how you think that based on you're this creative, free spirit, this blasé, whatever happens. And I'm rigid, structured. How do you think that you're going to be the disciplinarian and I'm going to be just turn into the fairy godmother?
Okay, well, let me ask you this. In our house right now, who tells who what to do more?
You tell me what to do,
yeah.
But that's just because you're pregnant. I'll let you get away with it.
No.
I just listen at the moment. I don't even question things because I'm not worth it.
So you don't agree with what I'm sharing?
Sometimes it's rubbish.
What do you mean? Like what?
We'll just let it go.
I don't like this information. You should withhold this from me.
Okay, think about this. Your relationship with your mum, for example, right?
Yeah.
It is the nicest, sweetest thing. And you guys are best buds. It's so friendly and jovial most of the time, except for when you're battling. But
what?
Which is 80% of the time. But the other 20%, you guys are
it's
bubbly.
Not factually correct.
Yeah, I'm just mucking around, obviously. But you guys you've always said that you felt like you had a real friendship with your mum. Whereas
True.
I grew up in a household 5 kids. There needed to be discipline. Otherwise everything would just go haywire. So I feel like I definitely come from probably a more disciplined background and in terms of parenting and witnessing it. So I think you can only really give what you've got, right? So as in, I think I would have a better idea about that even, whereas I don't even think you'd know how to punish our kid.
That's hilarious. I think I'll manage, but all right, if you grew up in a disciplined household.
Relatively, yeah.
What was your screen time like?
When I was in school, relatively nothing. No screens during the week. But I could watch cartoons on the weekend, if I was putting my soccer boots on. So I got about 6 minutes. 6 minutes of cartoons on a Saturday morning. You tie those laces
real slow. They're going to think you don't know how to tie your laces.
Yeah, so screen time, not really pushed that much in my house, but
okay,
I didn't hate it either. It wasn't I was twiddling my thumbs, wondering what to do. It was the best because I just filled my time with other things. I had so many brothers and siblings who were never bored. And
were the older kids
things.
allowed to watch more?
No, not until they essentially finished school. I started year 7 when my brother just finished. So he was, and so by the time you finish school, you can, our parents were a little bit more lenient and treated you more like an adult and you could do what you wanted.
We had screens, as in we'd come home and occasionally watch TV after school,
Mm-hmm.
Or we'd watch a show all together. I remember growing up, we'd watch Australian Idol together or Big Brother or something. We'd have nights.
Big Brother?
Yeah.
I was not allowed to watch Big Brother. Even when I was allowed to watch TV, it wasn't Big Brother.
I don't know from what age. I mean, I'm sure it would have been relatively appropriate, but yeah.
As long as it wasn't Big Brother Up Late.
No, I think we did. We probably watched that a couple of times when we got a bit older, though.
That was full nudity.
Yeah.
I remember sneaking out. My brother was watching that occasionally. When
you know
he was
what? You're right. I think we were sneaking out. I think Yaz and I would go in the corridor and we'd watch it from the corridor.
What, that your mum was watching?
Yeah, or Dad. I can't remember. But we'd sneak into the corridor and watch it from far away, just a little bit.
That would have been sex ed.
Yeah, that show was rogue.
Yeah, the early days was
Yeah.
interesting. Mm.
But I don't think it's necessary for like children to have that much screen time
Yeah. I'm not saying never
versus, kids and teenagers.
never let your kid watch Bluey or a Disney movie, but I also, I'm gonna try and limit its use because I'd much rather my kid be outside playing with dirt and finding ants in the ground and just being in nature and mucking around with other kids and learning than watching TV and scrolling phones.
If you're encouraging the kids to play in dirt, you are aware that you will then be in charge of bath time.
That's so fine by me. I'm actually going to encourage you to play a bit more in the dirt and get off your phone. So,
Excuse me.
What? Well, you got to set examples for your kids. So I can't be like, "Oh, Steve, go outside and muck around with your friends and play in the dirt," while Mum and I scroll on our phones. So,
well, no,
you kind of got to get
I would
out there
hope we're
with
not
them,
just
right?
sitting there at the park on our phones and we'd be playing with the children. But I don't know that I need to be in the dirt, sweetheart.
Trust me, you do.
Why don't you just jump in the dirt?
Yeah, I'll do it happily.
Okay, great. We'll hose all of you down when you enter the house. Touching on discussing screen time, I think it's really important to know where you stand in terms of giving your child a phone and what age it's appropriate to give your child a smartphone.
Yeah.
Because, you're just giving them access to literally everything.
It's terrifying.
Anything and everything. And I think we as adults can't manage all of that,
No way.
all of that stimulation and all of that content and the access that you have to everything is really overwhelming sometimes.
I think you also got to look at it down the lens of it's not just access to everything, it's everyone having access to you.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like when you give your kid a smartphone, you're allowing the world to access them, which is kind of scary when you do break that down.
We were listening to that in another podcast recently.
Yeah.
Which one was it?
I think it says if your daughter or son has a phone and they're sitting in their room, it's like giving the world a window into their room where they can access them. And
I think
and
he was
plug them
saying,
things and,
would you put a window in your child's room
just let the
that
world look
allowed other people to just look into their room? And, the answer is no,
Yeah.
obviously. But
we'll
that's
give them a
essentially
phone, yeah.
what you're doing, with the camera and with data and their information. So, it's really interesting.
When did you get a phone? A smartphone?
Well, I didn't get a smartphone until I think after high school. I don't think I had a smartphone. I had, an LG Shine or something or one of the flip phones or, it had access to internet, but it wasn't like a proper smartphone.
My thing with phones when I was young, my parents were like, yeah, you can have a phone, go for it. But we're not buying it for you. So if you want a phone, you can buy it and you can pay for the bill. And I remember getting one in year 5 was the first time I actually got a phone. But it was like a Nokia, one that had Snake on it.
Yes.
But the way I had to get it was I had to work. I went and got a paper run and did a paper run to make a little bit of money to buy like this $100 phone and then pay like... It was back in the day where, you didn't have to be on a plan. I'm pretty sure you can do it still, but where you just recharge, you go up to a newsagent and you go, hey, you can have a
What do you mean back in the
$10
day? You did that up until we were dating.
Well, that's back in the day.
Your credit would run out when you were 23.
Yeah, convenient. Didn't want to talk to you for 4 hours, credit run out.
No, because it wouldn't even deliver. And I'd be like, oh my God, this bloke's credit ran out again. He has to go to a news agency and type in a number.
This bloke's credit ran out. I'm just going to show him rings and try and get him to marry me. Yeah.
It
poor
worked.
thing. Yeah, but as in that, I think is a good way of like teaching your kids as well. Like if they want a phone, like you can go out and work for it and realize that it costs money. And
completely. It gives them a bit more responsibility. But in saying so, I don't think if my kid got a job at 10 doing a paper run that I'd still want him on, social media at that age.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like,
yeah, you can buy a Nokia 3315.
100%, baby, let's go. But
what was that? Why did you sound so excited about that?
Just the concept of this child being surrounded by iPhones and having this little brick phone that we've given him that he's playing Snake on.
Yeah, well, he's surrounded by us paying his bills. So, like, if he's going to start paying the bills, he can have an iPhone.
What if he offers?
No, I'm not doing it.
See, that's where you've got to draw the line. What age?
Yeah, well, I think you give them a phone that can contact mum and dad, contact a few of their friends. They can text them and call them if they want, but just no...
Age, Lachlan.
For what? Phone or smartphone?
When are we giving them a smartphone?
Late high school, maybe like 17, 18.
Wow, that's like an adult, like you're voting.
And also, I really like the idea of making them pay for it themselves. Like, I don't think you should just give them this $2,000
Teach
phone
them the
and give them
responsibility.
$50 a month and
Agreed.
unlimited access to the internet. Like, I think it's nice to teach kids these lessons, I don't know, kind of early. And I've listened to a few things that I really like about it, about teaching your kids like the value of money. But yeah, we'll talk about that another time.
Stunning.
Sorry, I shouldn't have brought that up.
Say you've given your kid the phone.
Yeah.
They've got a phone. They've got access to call you in the middle of a school day.
Yeah.
So kids,
Wait, so they're calling me off their own phone?
kids called you. Dad, I've got a bit of a problem. I need you to come pick me up.
Are you going to tell me what the problem is?
Yeah,
or?
you need to say what.
What's the problem?
Are you responding to your
Steve?
son? Steve.
Yeah.
It's Mufti Day.
Yeah.
I've turned up. I'm in uniform.
Sucks to be you today, Steve.
You're not going to be a ledge and drop some clothes off for your son.
Well, depends on where I am and how far. Like, as in,
Okay, you're 30 seconds down the road.
oh, I'd probably sort him out with something if it was 30 seconds away.
Okay.
That seems like
10
a
minutes.
pretty cruel thing to not do if
10
you're 30 seconds away.
10-minute drive.
Are we just going to find the threshold
Yeah,
where I don't do it?
When are you not going?
No, I think that, stuff happens. Like, it's okay. And as I said before, like, it's okay to be different. As in, like, yeah, that's hard, but I think that if your kid calls you, like, succumbing to everything that they want and need at all times is, like, not necessarily always the best thing for them. So,
What about nosebleed? You going to get Steve up?
what for?
Steve's really upset. He's bled on his shirt, and now he's wearing one of the shirts they found in lost property.
That's so fine. Wait, I'm confused. Are you asking me these because you would go and pick them up
I might at that.
for a nosebleed?
Yeah, that shirt could have anything on it. That's
Mate,
disgusting.
I would say shove a couple of tissues in there and get back to chucking a frisbee on the lawn. What do you need to come home for?
But what if the day's just started?
You can come home. I'll pick you up if you break a bone.
Yeah, that's
Or if
fair.
you get suspended, like, I'll come pick
Why
you up.
is Steve getting suspended? By the way, guys, Steve is not our baby's name. We're gonna have this is gonna be some sort of article.
Oh, guys, it's definitely
We've
not
announced
the
the name of our child on our podcast.
name. Yeah, it's not Steve. But yeah, I'm confused. What did you get picked up from school as a kid? Like,
My dad picked me up once and took me to Wet and Wild World in Queensland.
Yeah, but nothing was wrong with you. That's just a nice thing your dad did. It doesn't really, it's not relevant here.
It was amazing. We went there in a limo.
All right, cheeky flex. All right.
It was so because he said there's no cabs.
Okay.
Let's get in a limo. And
All
we
right.
were like, there were jelly beans in there.
Okay, back to the question
So
of
good.
when would you go and pick them up?
I would pick them up. If my kid had a nosebleed and was covered in blood, I'd at least drop a shirt off.
Yeah, that's not the question. Pick them up. Like, take them home. Like, when do they get taken home out of school?
Do kids get mental health days?
What?
Like sometimes
Do they need them?
school's really hard. I used to get really bad cramps at school, and there were a couple of times where I had to go home because I was just in
I'm
so
so
much.
confused how you went from mental health days to cramps in like 4 seconds.
I'm just distinguishing the line between where and like when I would and wouldn't pick my kid up.
Yeah, but okay. So if Steve gets a cramp, he's coming home. Get him a Gatorade and just sit in maths.
Gatorade?
Well, yeah, electrolytes,
God
salt.
forbid
that's
we
how
have
you-
a girl who's got cramps.
Yeah, but
Mummy
we
will
don't
deal
have
with
that,
it.
so we can't speak about something we don't have.
Okay. If Steve had a nosebleed, I would maybe consider picking him up if he was covered in blood and a bit distraught.
Okay. Well, we need to discuss the complexity of these because there's no way that Steve's coming home unless something is really wrong.
What if someone punched Steve in the nose?
Yeah,
What would you
if it's
do?
broken,
Okay, no,
if
this
it's
is
a bit sore.
This
like,
is a good scenario. We're in a playground.
yeah,
Someone's gone up to Steve, roundhouse kicked him, right?
like
He's-
MMA champion or like another kid.
Yeah, Steve's 6. Someone's MMA'd him
6. Okay, yeah.
in the playground. What are you doing about that?
Like I'm there with him or he's at school?
Yeah, you're watching. You've just seen it. You saw that other kid kick Steve.
And he's come up to me and said,
He didn't even have to come up to you.
Oh,
He's
okay.
on the floor now, crying.
well, I'd go and pick him up and console him, make sure he's all right. Maybe take him away from the absolute predator.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'd have a chat to him and say, that's not the right thing to do. And obviously it hurt you and you don't want to do that to others. But I would also say, tell
Where are you going with this?
little Jimmy the rat that he's not to do it again. And like, I don't know, it's a weird one. And I know we've kind of discussed this before, but
Tell Jimmy the rat. I'm just concerned about that opening.
Well, he sounds like a rat.
But you can't tell your child to use language like that.
Yeah, I won't tell him.
Because he will. He's going to go to school and go, my dad said you're a rat.
He's not at school. This is weekend park.
Yeah, but maybe Jimmy goes to school with
But
him.
I reckon if you tell your kid to politely say, like, hey, don't do that again, and then let's say Jimmy does it again, I reckon it's fair game to chuck a bit of sand in Jimmy's eyes or something.
Okay, look, we need to.
But you can't, like, you don't want.
Firstly, I don't think Jimmy's the kind of person to listen to Steve going, "Hey, Jimmy, that's not very nice." I think Jimmy's the kind of person who's going to roundhouse kick anyone anyway. So your advice, firstly, horrible.
Wait, to use your words.
Hey, Jimmy, that's not very nice.
Okay.
Can you imagine?
I'd love to hear how you deal with it.
Jimmy's plotting already the next time he's going to roundhouse kick him.
Trust me, you chuck a bit of sand in his eyes. He won't be kicking you a third time.
Your solution is, son, look, you don't do this often, but sometimes you do have to throw a bit of sand. That's your solution.
No, I'm saying if you ask someone to not do something and they continue to do it, I'm not going to get him in trouble for like sticking up for himself. Do you know what I mean? Like if you instigate something for no reason, you'll be in trouble. But as in if you're sticking up for yourself, what?
But the line, but sticking up is really, it's an interesting one because where's the boundary?
I've just told you, if he kicks him twice after saying don't kick me, what do you want him to do?
What if Steve decides, I'm going to stick up for myself today, takes baseball bat to school and decides to threaten Jimmy?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
But, you know, where do you... That's the teaching, though, is that it's okay to stick up for yourself, honey. That's where it gets tricky.
Well, just don't use a weapon.
Okay, so it's all good
That's not sand.
if you're using your hands and sand.
Well, I'm confused. What are you meant to do? Like, just be walked all over by Jimmy?
I think there's other methods.
I'd love to hear him.
Okay. Who are Jimmy's parents?
Jane and Bob. Who cares?
We go up to Jane and Bob. Listen, Jimmy's got a problem. We think that you need to take Jimmy in for some therapy or something. We'll start there.
Shoddy not having that conversation.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll be the gentle parent. So, also, you could chat to Jimmy. You could scare Jimmy a little bit yourself. But just, you know.
You want me to threaten Jimmy myself?
Have you seen that episode of Afterlife? Ricky Gervais
where he's standing on the edge of the preschool.
Goes up to his nephew's bully and just says a bunch of words to him.
Yeah, I don't think I could say that. I'd probably get arrested.
Then they become best friends.
Yeah, no thanks. I don't want my kid to be friends with someone like Jimmy who's assaulting people in the park.
I think we need to think this over a bit more and circle back.
Okay.
We don't have a solution here.
Yeah, well, I do, but we don't like it. Let me pose something to you. You are still, at age 29, pretty scared of the dark. Like, we sleep with a light on. We recently got a night light for the baby,
exposed.
and you decided that we needed to test it in our room for the few months leading up to having a baby, which I don't really think is necessary.
It had different colour options.
But we sleep with a hall light on outside our room.
Correct.
Which emanates through the window.
Yes, yes.
So it's already rubbish for me, who'd like sleeping in the dark.
Right, yeah.
But if our kid has a nightmare, scared of the dark, comes into our room at night, are you kicking them back out? Or like, are you going to help them not succumb to this fear of the dark and nightmares? Or are you just going to coddle them and go, oh yeah, I'm terrified too, come in and let's have a snuggle?
I had a nightmare too, yeah. No, obviously I'm going to try to teach them to not end up in a situation that I've ended up in, which is being terrified of everything at nighttime.
Can I just ask, has anything ever happened to you at night? Like, as in, do you have any reason to be terrified of the dark?
Yeah.
Sure.
Bad dreams. Get bad dreams and then can't sleep.
Awesome. So our kid's going to come crying, had a nightmare, and you're going to, what, just say, oh, I feel you, I've been there.
No,
Let's be terrified
I
together.
want to encourage the kid to, you know, nothing's wrong. Let's go back to sleep. I'll come into your room, show them everything's fine. But it would be a bit hypocritical of me to sleep with a nightlight, not let them.
Yeah, but if you have things that are kind of like downfalls, you want to lift your kid up and teach them not to have those things that you don't really like having yourself, like being scared of the dark.
Yeah, I don't want to enable that fear, of course.
So can we start sleeping with the light off when the kid's born? Because otherwise it's going to get used to it and it will be like just what he expects.
Well, I'll try my best.
I like that. It's good from you.
Or, new solution, we put the nightlight in our room, not in the hallway. Perfect.
You are sick, man. You are sick.
I think that's a good solution. jump over to our Ask Mum and Dad segment where we have a very interesting question today. So firstly, guys, if you want to write in, we absolutely love hearing from you. You can email us at madaboutyou@novapodcast.com.au. We love to hear your funny dating stories or any questions that you have for us. So today's question is, I've been dating my boyfriend for almost 8 years and he still hasn't proposed. How do I approach this without him feeling like he has to? This is a...
You can take the reins on this one, considering that you're a woman who may have been in the same position once upon a time.
No, never 8 years though, but I think if it got to 8 years, I would seriously be questioning this person's intentions. That's a long time. And I know there's plenty of people out there who've, had a period of time that's maybe been similar and then they've, eventually been engaged and gotten married and everything's all fine and dandy. But me personally, it really depends on your age, firstly. So, did you meet in high school? Have you been dating since you were 15, 14, and it's been 8 years since then, and you've only just really become adults? That's a bit different. I feel like that's kind of probably a bit more reasonable. You're still feeling things out. You're figuring out who you are at that age. Whereas, did you meet when you're 20 and now you're 28, and it's a bit like, okay, we should really be sure of who we are at this point and what we want out of our lives and out of our relationships. I would be questioning where things are going and how solid they are. Yeah,
I would take it more from the fact that I feel like you should have had these conversations in the 8 years, right? As in, if you've spoken to your partner and he said yeah, I do actually really want to get married, then I think you'd maybe be stuck pondering in your own mind, and you might be going crazy, going oh, okay, he does want to get married, it's been 8 years. But as in, if you haven't had the conversation, you never know. A lot of people are just content with being together and not being married these days, which is totally fine as well. So as in, I think you need to sit down and ask your partner, is marriage for us, because as in, imagine you've been someone for 8 years, haven't had that conversation, and you're just secretly waiting for this, romantic proposal, and you don't want to bring it up because you don't want it to seem awkward, and here this guy is going oh, this is pretty nice, 8 years and no pressure, and let's keep rolling.
Surely this person has spoken about it with their partner.
Well, I can't answer, so you saying surely to me, I should know. I'm not sure.
Well, that's the first step. Guys, we say it every time. Communication. Communication is key.
Yeah, I feel but 8 years... If you are wanting to get married, I don't think you need more than 8 years to know if you're with the right person.
You should know.
A long, long time.
Unless, like I said, your kids, you've gotten together when you're kids, you might still think of yourself as a kid. And then it gets to that point as well where it's okay, we've been together for this long. I'm actually not ready to commit, but I don't want to throw the past 8 years that I've had with you in the bin. So I think that's where it gets tricky as well. It's people are in their 20s, maybe early mid-20s, and they've been together for a while and they don't know what to do because they feel like they want to go out and explore still and be single and figure out who they really are on their own, but not waste this relationship they've had. So I think it depends on the timeline. Whereas, if you met at, 30 and you guys are 38, maybe they're not the one.
Yeah, but I also think the question says without him feeling like he has to. And I think that is really important because you'd never want to make someone feel like you've forced them into a crazy lifelong decision, So as in, I do understand that that's a tricky thing to bring up because you want it to be natural and authentic. It's fine to have those discussions about marriage and what you want in life, from life and the relationship, and do you want kids, and ask about all those things. But if you're constantly probing, hey, when are we getting engaged? Hey, I like these rings. Looking at someone who may have done that a couple of times. I think you might be leading them down a path that perhaps they don't want to go down, and that would be quite a horrible feeling, And I've always said that in relationships in general, you should never have to convince someone to stay with you. As in, if someone wants to leave, I would say, see you later, good riddance. I'm not going to ever try and convince someone to stay with me, because then I would spend my whole life wondering, does this person even really want to be with me? So trying to, I wouldn't be trying to convince your partner to propose, but definitely have some open chats about marriage and see where his head's at, I guess.
But the thing is, I don't know if you can have that conversation without it making someone who's maybe not interested in doing that feel like they have to.
Yeah, but that's when you need to just be honest and go, hey, I don't want marriage at all. So as in, you're not going to force someone to do something if they don't want to do it at all.
Yeah,
but as in,
true.
If they did want to do it and you're kind of giving them the little nudge along, then maybe it's going to be inauthentic.
Yeah, I think you just have to have that conversation, understanding that the outcome might be that one that you don't necessarily want. I think you need to come to terms with that. If you'd rather live, ignorance is bliss. If you'd rather live in that scenario and just be boyfriend and girlfriend
She's
forever,
been trying that for 8 years.
Yeah, I mean, that might be your preference, though. You might not want the hard truth, but I think if you're going to ask this question, you need to know that you might not get an answer that you're going to like. So that's my advice for you.
Yeah, ask it, because you don't want to be wasting another 8 years if it's something that your heart's set on and this gentleman's heart is not set on. So
I'm always one for going ahead and taking the leap and doing what's best for you, because in this scenario, you either keep waiting, and then you get bad news, or you get bad news now, or you get good news.
Riddle me this. It's been 8 years. He's going, equality. Maybe he's waiting to get proposed to. Does she go out and buy a ring and just YOLO swag it?
But you don't have... Okay, you're saying there's no visibility on what he wants, really. She wants to get engaged.
Yeah.
Should she just go get the ring?
Yeah. No, not for herself, for him.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Mix it up a little bit.
Look, in this situation, I don't believe that I don't want equality in this situation. That's just my perspective. I would prefer to be proposed to, personally.
Yeah, I know. You told me many times.
But, yeah, look, that's a good question. I can't answer that. How would you feel if I proposed to you?
No, thank you. Pass.
Okay, there you go. Question put to bed. Thank you so much.
All right. I think you just need to have a chat to your man, make sure you're on the right page. And then, I honestly wouldn't be pushing it too much, because you never want to make someone feel like they have to make a decision that they're not ready to make. So that's all from us this week, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Mad About You.
Just know that we love you.
Heinous. Guys, we would really appreciate if you took a little bit of time out of your day to leave us a review, tell a friend or a family member about the pod, and get them listening along. So thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you next episode.
Bye.